In this video, we're going to look at just how much manpower and resources are required to deal with an EV fire. And if governments get their way and these abominations become our mandated vehicles, we can expect to see them far more regularly. Despite all the EV fanatics telling us that EV fires are far less common than internal combustion engine fires, let's just quickly remind ourselves why EV fires are so dangerous. Firstly, they don't require any external oxygen from the air. The chemicals in the battery cells provide the oxidizer to keep the fire burning. Secondly, the fires burn at a vastly higher temperature than regular petrol or diesel fires, 2,500 degrees Celsius or 4,500 degrees Fahrenheit, compared to 800 or 900 degrees Celsius. Thirdly, they give off a cocktail of lethal gases which are highly toxic if inhaled. Fourthly, they can spontaneously reignite days, weeks, or even months after they were first extinguished. And finally, fifthly, the water runoff from the scene of the fire is contaminated and considered hazardous waste which should not be allowed to disappear into stormwater drains or watercourses, and should ideally be contained and then removed for proper processing. So let's take a look at a real example of what happens when an EV catches fire. If you're after EV and net zero sanity, you've come to the right place. Welcome to MGUY, British engineer and lawyer, now Sydney YouTuber. If you like my videos and content, please be sure to like, share and subscribe, hit the notification bell and drop a comment down below. I'm very glad to say that there were no injuries sustained, and the house involved in this incident did not succumb to the fire. But that was just down to extremely good luck rather than anything else. Lithium-ion battery fires will ignite virtually anything nearby, and so it was really only good fortune that prevented the entire house from going up in smoke. Let's take a look at the video from South Metro Fire Rescue Centennial in Colorado. And the first thing we'll notice is that as soon as an EV is involved, the hazmat team must be deployed. By the way, when you're watching this, see if you can count up how many appliances and personnel were required to deal with just one EV fire.
Once firefighters knew that an electric vehicle was involved, the hazardous materials team responded to the scene. Those apparatus are equipped with a specialized electric vehicle fire blanket, which is used to smother the fire.
This is one of the first problems. Once you put out the fire, you can't just leave it where it is, because it could catch fire again at any moment. And check out just how much equipment is required here.
A South Metro Fire Rescue pickup truck was used to pull the burning electric vehicle out of the garage and onto the driveway where it was safer and there was less of a risk of the house catching on fire as well. Our firefighters, in their full protective equipment and respiratory safety equipment, applied that blanket.
This is Jaguar EV.
Just consider for a moment how many people and appliances are involved in this operation. There must be getting on for 20 firefighters and at least 4 appliances just for one single EV. It's absolutely mental.
Those blankets cost anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000, and the one that we are using here at South Metro weighs 62 pounds. Once the blanket is applied, the scene is relatively safe, and at that point our responders can take the time that they need to make sure that everything inside the house is okay.
But this ain't the end. Far from it. Now you'll see an entire emergency services escort to transport these wretched things to the scrapyard.
Something that was used for the first time at South Metro and something new to our community members was seeing a procession involving law enforcement leading the way with electric vehicles on a tow truck covered in this blanket and somewhat smoking as they drove down the road with a fire department escort.
Somewhat smoking. Understatement of the week.
The fire truck escorted those tow trucks to make sure that if there was a mishap with the blanket and a fire occurred on the roadway, they would be able to suppress that fire and call additional resources as needed. Thankfully, this plan worked as we thought it would, and the tow trucks got to the salvage yard safely without incident, and that's exactly what we trained for. Once the vehicles are at the salvage yard, they remain underneath that electric fire blanket, which is limiting the oxygen flow to the battery, which is still smoldering. The idea is that it's preventing a fire from spreading and it's preventing open burning, and eventually that battery pack will cool down to the point that the fire will just be extinguished.
Oh my God, this is utterly ridiculous. The amount of time and money this is going to cost. Perhaps EV owners should have to pay for the emergency services attendants when their idiotic milk floats decide to self-combust. Maybe that would discourage some of them from buying them in the first place. Alternatively, insurance companies should jack up their premiums to such an extent that owning an EV becomes financially unviable, so sparing our first responders from having to deal with such events. The whole thing would be comical if it weren't so serious. In this case, everyone was lucky. No one was injured and the house was saved. But what happens when we're all driving EVs and a line of them are parked up charging in the basement car park of an apartment block, and one of them decides to do exactly what this Jaguar I-Pace did? Just exactly how many of those events are we prepared to put up with in order to save the planet? Well, that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. Drop a comment down below and let me know what you think. If you have any tips or stories, you can hit me up on Instagram or by email. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now.